Long before there were pharmacies, there were healers. Mothers, fathers, and neighbors who turned to the earth for wellness. Welcome to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast with Jim Applegate. Each week we explore the plants, traditions, and time-honored remedies that connect us to that ancient wisdom, so you can bring it into your modern life.
Welcome back. Today I want to talk with you a little bit about another one of the herbs in the 20 Herbs book. If you haven't heard one of the previous episodes where we've talked about some of it, the 20 Herbs book is a pamphlet that Dr. James put together early on when he was going out in his mail truck to making house calls. And basically, these are 20 herbs that he would suggest everyone have in their home. So when your child wakes up in the middle of the night with a headache or a cough or vomiting, you have something that you can give them in the moment to prevent whatever's going on to get worse. So Dr. James, when somebody would call him and say, "Hey, my child's up in the middle of the night with a cough, what do I give him?" And he's like, "Well, do you have sage?" And they would be like, "Well, no." "Well, do you have horehound?" "Well, no." "Do you have slippery elm?" "Well, no." So he put together this guide, which is just a quick reference, 20 herbs. You have these in your home with some simple teas and simple ways to prepare the herbs so that you can take care of something in a not necessarily emergency situation, but in a situation that to help comfort a child that's in need or comfort somebody in your home that's in need. And, so it's just sort of in those moments kind of thing when you don't have access to everything. So the 20 herbs is kind of like your herbal first aid kit. And so we kind of go back and forth with it. So we've talked about some of the other herbs in the 20 herb kit, like hops and juniper berry and burdock. So today I want to talk about another one of the essentials in the 20 herb kit, which is slippery elm. It also goes by other names, Indian elm, Indian bark, different names. So slippery elm basically is the inside of the bark of a tree that it grows along the rivers in North America, from Canada all the way down to Florida, and it grows as far west as West Texas. So it prefers moister climates, but it's a pretty big tree. They grow 30, 40 feet. I mean, it's not like a monster tree, but it is a pretty decent sized tree. And so it sheds its bark. And so when you take off the bark, the inner bark is the part that is used. The outer bark sometimes isn't. It's got some of the properties that we're going to talk about, but not all of them. So when you have an option in C for slippery elm, you always want the inner bark. The most inner part is the best part because it has what's called the mucilage effect. So slippery elm, part of what makes it so wonderful is this mucilage effect. Other things that have that mucilage effect, flax seeds, chia seeds. So like when it gets wet, it kind of gets slimy and slippery. But slippery elm has some other benefits of that slimy and slippery, and that's why we really like to use it. So one of the key things about slippery elm and that mucilage effect, that nature's mucilage, is that it soothes anything that's irritated. So, flax and chia can get slimy and kind of it's a binding kind of thing, but slippery elm coats and soothes. So it's really, really nice for anytime you have like a sore throat, any digestive issue, anything from vomiting to diarrhea, constipation, anything like that. Slippery elm will coat any of those membranes and is really soothing to those parts of the body. So like if you have a sore throat and you do something with slippery elm, the slippery elm is going to coat it, because a lot of times a sore throat it's inflamed and it's raw and scratchy. So the slippery elm will coat it and soothe it and calm down that rawness. If you've got digestive issues where like a lot of acid or something in the stomach, the slippery elm will coat the stomach, and that prevents the raw on the stomach and really is soothing to the stomach. And that's how it prevents vomiting, is because you're soothing the stomach. It's all gurgled up and all inflamed or sore or painful or for whatever reason, and the slippery elm will coat that. And so it's really, really nice. Another nice thing about slippery elm is it's because it is so soothing, it's safe for children to the elderly. Just about anybody can use it because it's not brisk, doesn't, cause flushing of the bowels or anything massive like that. It's just something that soothes and calms down the body. So we use slippery elm in some of the formulas, most notably is Flem Up. Basically, the reason Dr. James uses slippery elm in the Flem Up is some of the herbs can cause massive moving of phlegm. So lobelia, for example, that can be pretty brisk in shoving the phlegm up out of the body. So Dr. James paired it with the slippery elm. So the slippery elm will follow it up and soothe. So you move that phlegm really fast and the slippery elm will soothe the bronchioles and things like that. So that's why we use it. It's a soothing herb that goes along with other herbs. So when you're looking for slippery elm, like whether you're out shopping for it or ordering it online, there's a couple of things you want to look for. But so when it comes in, when you get it, you want to check these things. So first off, you always, like I mentioned earlier, you always want the inside bark. The more inside it is, the better. The outside bark is a little woody and it's lost a lot of that mucilage properties, so it's not as effective. So always look for the inside bark. It comes in a powder. Usually you get it powdered. It's kind of stringy, but it's very rare that you don't get it powdered because it's so much easier to deal with in powdered form. So when you look at it, it shouldn't be clumpy at all. It should be, basically they dry it first and you want it to be good and dry. Otherwise, if it's clumpy, you're kind of losing some of that mucilagenic properties. So make sure it's really dry. It looks like a really fluffy powder. If it's clumpy, then it wasn't totally dry, and you might want to avoid that slippery elm. It has like this sweet woody smell to it. It smells really nice. I like the smell of slippery elm, but it has that sweet woody smell. If it doesn't have the smell, that means that it's not as fresh as it could be. And like we've talked about many times, freshness is really important to the effectiveness of herbs. So those are some things to look for when you're shopping for the slippery elm for yourself. So the two most common ways of using slippery elm, it's either in a tea or a capsule. Basically, a capsule is a dehydrated tea, and when you take the capsule, it goes in your stomach. So make sure you drink a lot of water with your capsules. But so the capsules is just it's a tea in powdered form that you put in your stomach, so then you don't have to get everything out and have sticks in your sink and water and all of that. So a tea or capsules or a poultice. So if you're not familiar with what a poultice is, so basically it's a mixture of several herbs. Slippery elm is one of the most common ones used because it's a wonderful, wonderful binder. So it binds, but it's also, because of that mucilagenic property, it sticks, it stays. So if you have a sore throat, if you mix some slippery elm with sage, it will stick and coat in your throat. So with a poultice, you mix different herbs and you can apply it in different places. So like if you have an abscess, like an abscess tooth or something like that, mix with fection or mix with the slippery elm, something like fection or herbs that draw infection out. golden seal, echinacea, something like that. You mix it with the slippery elm and just a little bit of water, and you mix it until it becomes a paste, and then you apply it to the abscess, and it will draw out the infection. So it's really, really great for that. You can also do a similar kind of thing for like mastitis or bruises. You make a little bit of slippery elm. It's usually 1 or 2 tablespoons. Mix it with any herbs that you're wanting the effect of. So like for bruises, burdock or gentian or something that helps draw out some of that. You mix a little bit of water and basically add water slowly at a time to mix your poultice, because you can always add more water, but you can't take water out. So go slow, and you just want it till it becomes a paste, and then you put it on that bruise or the wound or whatever. And so a poultice is really handy with the slippery elm to like hold it in place. So one of the things that Dr. James came up with that we use quite often, and in fact, he made it for his grandparents when they came to live with him. They had all sorts of digestive issues from a really poor diet. Basically, his grandparents grew up on farms and they grew their own food and they never had issues. And then, like in the early to late 90s, by then they're just living off of a microwave in a can, and it really wreaked havoc on their digestive system. So Dr. James and Veronica came up with the slippery elm drink, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes, include it with the show notes. But so basically, slippery elm drink is something that coats, whether it's for a sore throat or a stomach issue. The slippery elm drink is really, really soothing for any issues like any tummy ache, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation. If somebody has no appetite, it's really, really great. So like for Dr. James's grandparents, they gave it to him pretty much all the time, and it soothed their digestion. It made it easier for bathroom visits, for constipation, diarrhea. It helped with all of that. But Veronica, Dr. James's wife, also used it like when any of her children were vomiting and they couldn't hold anything down. Like when you have that stomach thing where you just take a sip of water and it comes right back up. A lot of times the slippery elm drink they're able to keep it down because that mucilagenic properties, it coats everything in the stomach. So then the stomach doesn't just instantly reject it and you vomit it right back up. So it's really helpful if you've been vomiting for a while and you want to like start rebuilding your digestive tract. So it's pretty easy. The slippery elm drink kind of tastes like an eggnog sort of thing. So basically what it is you use a milk or milk substitute. So Lynn, my wife, she prefers using milk substitute. So she just gets raw cashews that she has soaked, puts them in a high-powered blender, and adds water and a little bit of honey and mixes it up so that it turns it into a nut milk. But you can use regular milk if you're okay with that. If there's vomiting, a nut milk is a lot gentler than cow's milk or goat's milk or something like that. So that's why my wife Lynn prefers the using a nut milk, a cashew or almond milk that she makes herself, simply because it's easier on the digestion, and that's usually what we use the slippery elm drink for. So you blend it up with your milk, and it starts to get warm. You put in a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg, a little bit of vanilla. We like to add coconut oil, especially for any digestive issue. It makes it slippery, so you can move whatever and everything like that. It just gets everything going. And then you add 1 teaspoon of slippery elm powder. And what this is going to do is you get that mucilagenic effect. And if you add too much, then it's going to like come out of your blender in one solid piece. So it doesn't take much, just a little bit of slippery elm powder. And you basically blend it all up, and that run it in the blender for a couple of minutes. And if you have a high speed blender like a Vitamix or something like that, then your milk will start to get warm. And then you add a raw egg into that, and the warm temperature of the Vitamix, of the milk in the Vitamix, will basically cook it. It's not fully cook, but it will cook it to the point where if there's anything in it, it'll kill that, but it's not overcooked. It's not cooking the kind of thing. But if you have an issue with eggs or an egg allergy or something like that, you can also make a vegan version. Basically, when you start with making your nut milk with your raw cashews, raw almonds, and your boiling water, you put a tablespoon of either flaxseed or chia seed in water, in some of that boiling water, and let it set for a minute. And so that will give you the binding of the egg. Put it in, mix it up, and then drink away. It's really, really yummy stuff. We really like it. And you don't even, even if you're not feeling sick, it's not reserve it for the sick times or whatever. But if you have any digestive issue, the slippery elm drink is just amazing because it soothes all the way down, soothes your throat, soothes the digestive tract, everything. It's really, really soothing. But because of that mucilagenic properties, it makes everything really slippery. So constipation or diarrhea or anything like that, it makes it so that it's easier to evacuate the bowels or whatever. So slippery elm drink, that's one of those things that we have for anything. You always want to have slippery elm on hand for us, because you never know when you're going to need it, and it's always nice to have it on hand. So as far as storing slippery elm, basically you want to keep it in a cool, dark place, basically a cupboard that doesn't have direct sunlight. Sunlight will break down a lot of the vitamins, the nutrients, that mucilagenic properties. So make sure it's not in direct sunlight, and keep it like in a cupboard or something like that, and it will store for quite a while. So that's why we like to always have some on hand, because you never know when some stomach bug's going to come along, or, you're going to do something and you'll be constipated or a sore throat or whatever, and you just want something soothing. So having it on hand is really, really helpful. So I really hope this is to help you find out more about slippery elm, find out how to use it and why you'd want to have it in your home. It's an amazing herb. It's one that we use quite a bit. So I really encourage you to go out. Slippery elm is really easy to find in most health food stores. A lot of them carry it. So go get some. Try this slippery elm drink. It's really yummy and it's amazing. And especially right now, I know there's a stomach bug going around. That's why I wanted to do this episode. There's a lot of people that are coming into the office saying that they're dealing with a stomach bug. So if you have any questions on how to use slippery elm, how to make a poultice, any of that, give us a call, email us, text us, shoot us a snail mail. However, I would be happy to help you use slippery elm, because I know it will make a huge difference in your life. It's been wonderful visiting with you again, and we will talk to you next time.
Listening to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast with Jim Applegate. Visit drugfreehelpstore.com to download your free Healer in Every Home guidebook and explore herbal formulas that support your health naturally. Be sure to follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with someone who loves natural living as much as you do. Thanks for joining us, and remember, true healing starts at home.
It is not the intent of professional herbal instruction or any persons associated therewith to diagnose or prescribe. The intent is only to offer herbal information for your consideration. In the event you use this information without your doctor's approval, you are prescribing for yourself, which is your God-given right. But professional herbal instruction or any persons associated herewith assume no responsibility. The claims and statements made on this podcast have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.